We are going to do something for the first time. We are going to try something. I don't know if we are going to try something. Just something new here. I am going to see if I can try something new. I don't know if this will actually work. But if it does, if this actually works, this will be pretty damn cool. If it doesn't, you can blame me. That's all you can do is you can blame me. Blame Sigmund Freud. Blame me if this doesn't work. We are going to go to Don Mazzella. He is going to join us on Skype audio here in just a few seconds. And we are going to do a countdown, I guess, or talk about some stuff. I don't know what we'll do. We'll figure something out. And there's Don.
How you doing?
Don Mazzella joining us today here in our broadcast. And you've seen him on MSNBC, Fox News, Wall Street Journal. He has American Family Sampler, and he's going to be with us today here on our big broadcast. Check out smallbusinessdigestmag.com for more information. And Don, I wanted to get you on here today to discuss some of the different issues going on in the world around us. Usually we do this with you and Dan Perkins and IQ Al Rizzoli, and you don't get a word in edgewise. Which is fine, because you don't care about that part of it. But I wanted to get you on today to discuss some different issues. First of all, what is the most important issue as we head into the new year that folks need to know about on the Western Front, I guess is what they say?
Well, there's two, unfortunately. We took care of one. The tax bills got through. But now we're going to turn to something we should have been looking at a long time ago: North Korea and Iran. Whether we like it or not, we still have those two enemies sitting on our doorstep, and that is going to be the major thrust of and focus of President Trump for the next 6 months. I think he's moving towards a confrontation. I heard an interesting thing today that Trump actually is welcoming the UN resolution condemning his move to Jerusalem. Everybody's saying he stalled a peace effort, but as you and I know, there hasn't been a real peace effort in years. So it's going to give him an excuse to do what many American presidents want to do. He's going to cut the American contribution to the UN, and that's where it's going to hurt. I don't know if you realize, but we've actually, over the last few years, and certainly this year, reduced our contribution to a lot of different arms of the UN, and I think we're going to cut the major funding. I think right now we're at 54%. We're going to go below 50%. But the thing that's really going to happen is he's going to do something about the Iran treaty, and he is going to do something about North Korea. There's no doubt in my mind that's what's going to happen.
We've got Don Mazzella with us today. We are testing out some new gear here in studio. We're doing Facebook Live today. We are experimenting with that, and we are talking with the veteran newsman Don Mazzella on Skype audio. You've seen him on MSNBC, Fox News, the Wall Street Journal, and America losing its edge is among some of the topics here today. I want to go into that section with you, Don, because I know that there is a big controversial thing on this, the U.S. military. Do we still have the strongest military in the world, or have our allies caught up to us in forces?
Well, you know, I've been embedded long before that word was used, with our armed forces. And our armed forces are getting tired, yes. Don't forget, we're only utilizing 7% of our forces in actual operations. We have them scattered around the world, but we are overusing our special forces. We are overusing some of our elite units, and that's going to come home to roost. It's interesting. There is an absolutely terrific program on TV called SEAL Team, which is on CBS. I mean, I recommend all Americans to watch the program. It's the old-fashioned rah-rah where we always win. But when you see and it's based on real-life incidences, some of which are still happening. But we are, frankly, overusing our elite troops. We're going to have to do something about it. If you look at the new budget for the coming year, whenever we get to finally pass it, the monies for those elite units is up. Certainly, the money for drones are up, and other things as well. So we clearly have to do something about that. President Trump has earmarked money to refurbish our atomic arsenal, which needed to be done. But let's be frank about it. If North Korea launched one rocket today and took out, let's say, Los Angeles, it'll be obliterated in a matter of hours. And we could obliterate Russia, and make no mistake about it. We could obliterate Iran if they did it. They attacked us. That's why they are all doing it covertly, which is unfortunate.
Don Mazzella with us today. He joins us live here on Skype audio, and you've seen Don Mazzella on MSNBC, Fox News, Wall Street Journal, and he joins us each and every week on our big broadcast, along with Dan Perkins and IQ Al-Rizzoli. But I wanted to get Don on today to discuss some different issues as we head into the new year. Learn more about Don by visiting his website, smallbusinessdigestmag.com. And Don Mazzella is a nationally known commentator covering not only great events, but the intimate lives of ordinary citizens. His latest book is now in its fourth printing. Recalculating is also a compendium of 100-plus experts, presidents, and government officials talking about strategies to grow a small business. For the past decade, he's been editorial director of Small Business Digest, a multimedia offering for enterprise leaders. And you've also got American Family Sampler out there as well. Don, what are some other issues that people are missing? Because I know that they're talking about the tax situation, and we talked a little bit about the military. Whenever we talk to IQ Al-Rizzoli on this show, we always talk Middle East. What do you make of some of the stories that people are missing?
One story that the media is missing is the fact that Donald Trump, while they're all concentrating on his tweets, is slowly but surely changing the government in Washington. Whether the media wants to acknowledge it or not, there are major changes going on in the EPA, State Department. All of the various departments in the government are being taken over by competent cabinets. If you look at the cabinet that Trump has assembled and seen what they've done over the last 9 months, it is really a remarkable job. It is something that I'm told on the Democratic side is really scaring the liberal various organizations, etc., because they are making fundamental changes. Just one example. Now we have this controversy over these 11 words that are banned from I think it's government, from the government agencies for talking about, and they're making such a big to-do about it. Well, you can make all the to do you want about it, but the number of people leaving government in these various agencies, it's going to become a flood after the first of the year, because positions are simply not being filled, the permanent positions, um, and the various uh, presidential positions are slowly being taken over by people who believe in Trump's uh, what he's trying to do. That's a story that's not being really addressed by the media, or even us for that matter. We never get to. We always talk about the low-hanging fruit out there. It's an amazing transformation. I went to one agency last week, and it was amazing how many empty desks there were. And these were permanent employees. Many of them are hunkering down. There's a big controversy going on. Big by media standards, but not big, where one government agency hired somebody to figure out who amongst the employees were anti-Trump. It's been done for generations, but all of a sudden it's worth a story. That to me is one of the major stories that's happening today.
We've got a great guest with us today. He joins us on the Skype audio, and it's Don Mazzella. He is one of our good friends. We've been talking to Don for, God, probably 3-4 years now, and Don's website, smallbusinessdigestmag.com. Don Mazzella is a veteran newsman and commentator. Tell us a little bit about American Family Sampler. That's one of your many books.
Well, that's dear to my heart, because it's two American families, one black and one white. It's actually a trilogy. First book is out through the American centuries, up till approximately 1990. It really starts based on real people, and it talks about how this country has grown and what's made it possible for it to grow. Which, if you let me, I'll segue into something I'd love to talk about, which is you ask about the edge, but I've been quite by chance have had read biographies of some of Jefferson, Madison, Washington, and Henry Clay the last 2 weeks. And they are, in many respects, interrelated. And the interesting thing is, when you read about these people, and you read about George Washington, who could have been king if he wanted to be, but at the end of 8 years, went back to Mount Vernon after being president. And you read about John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. These are men who, in effect, invented a country, saw it on its path, and then went home. Something we don't see today. Al Franken finally announced that he was leaving, but he'll do it January 2nd. He should have left the day he made his speech, which is amongst the. By the way, if you read it, read the transcript. It tells you just how far we've come down the road and down in the world. When you read Washington's farewell to the troops, and you read his last address to Congress, and then you read Franken's, I call it a tirade against Donald Trump. You sit here and worry about the Republic. I don't, because it always seems to survive even the worst of people. But the point I want to make is that the people who founded this country and invented it were giants, and we have not seen their like again. and if you read their biographies and you read how the important thing is they gave up power. And I'll go forward and talk. My favorite line, which I got to say today, yeah, Harry Truman, when he left the White House, he said he thought the president was a servant of the people, and when he left the White House, he thought he got promoted. What a great line! And,
That's awesome. It is. It is the great Don Mazzella. He's with us today here on our big program. We're going to be joined by Josh Bernstein here at the bottom of the hour, and we will chat with Josh
I'm really
as well.
thankful you're letting me talk. I don't get a chance. I think I contributed both on Tuesday. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep me on.
No, you do a heck of a lot for us, my friend. And for folks who are just hearing from Don today for the first time or watching us on Facebook Live or whatever, go to Don's website, smallbusinessdigestmag.com. Also, Recalculating, which is a show that you and the great Dan Perkins host. That's available on amfm247.com. Now, but before we get to Josh here in just a few moments, to tell us about where you see the economy going now that these tax cuts and everything have been put in place.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, if Dan was here, he'd give you 10 minutes on it, but I'll give you 1 minute and say, in essence, it can't go any place but up, but it is going up. We did a tape today with two very informative people, informed as well as informative, and everybody that I talk to says the same thing. People are investing. AT&T, Southwest. I got three others across my computer in the last hour of people who are taking the money and not giving it to their stockholders, but rather investing in America, and investing in infrastructure, in new equipment, and in their employees. As you know, AT&T is giving all of its 250,000 American employees $1,000. Well, naturally, the union said, well, it should be 4,000. But you know what? I'd like to know anybody else that comes along and says, here's $1,000. You know, it was a great thought. Southwest, the president of Southwest Airlines, said that they're going to put most of their windfall into new equipment and new gates, etc., and training, and retraining. There's, in my view, is nothing but clear skies up at looking forward, because we, in effect, have said to American people and to our corporations here, we're going to add $100 billion to the national debt. But we believe that if you spend the money, we'll make it back. But as Dan pointed out this morning, President Obama, this tax the bills will result in $1 trillion worth of additional debt over 10 years. And President Obama incurred $1 trillion worth of debt each of his 8 years in office. Yet the Democrats never mentioned that. You know, I think it's going to be a great thing for the people, for the economy, and it's going to be another thing that someone said to me, which is that we're going to see a whole rash of new inventions, which are going to we're due for that. Every 8 years now, lately, we have some new invention that changes things, but we're due for a new invention that will change things. And I think it's going to be somebody's finally going to find a way to create Star Wars and to have an effective missile defense. I'm told it's a lot closer to people realize, going back to your original question about the edge, the United States is honing in close on a laser system to knock out ICBMs, which is going to make it a very interesting ploy for the North Koreans.
Well,
that's a long answer.
Yes, but it's a detailed answer. We are going to take a brief break here. I'm going to put Don on hold on Skype, and when we come back, we are going to be joined on the telephone here by Josh Bernstein. Hang out, Don. We'll be back here in a couple seconds, and if you're watching us live on Facebook, we will be back here in just a few moments. Christmas time. That's what we're doing here. We're doing an experiment. By the way, if this fails, blame me. Blame me every single time. We've got more coming up on the other side.
Darts is a fun pastime that goes back generations, and it's a great way to socialize while having a great time. AtomicDarts.com stocks an incredible supply of top quality darts from leading manufacturers like Target, Schott, and Bottleson, and many others. AtomicDarts.com carries all the dart supplies you will ever need, like boards, even electronic boards. And when you order in the United States, free shipping on orders of $50 or more. Wow, that's a great deal. Visit AtomicDarts.com. Take a look at their inventory. You will be impressed. AtomicDarts.com is family owned and operated. AtomicDarts.com, helping you nuke the competition.
Do you love shopping online but just hate the small selections? Then it's time to shop at the online mall at bargainbrute.com. With over 2 million different products on sale, in stock, and ready to ship, it's the easiest place to shop online in America. From electronics and home appliances to today's hottest fashions for him and her, to shoes, phones, and everything in between. That's bargainbrute.com. Why shop anyplace else? Get the lowest prices on everything, all shipped directly to your door. That's bargainbrute.com. It's the online mall that has everything on sale.
Welcome back to our big broadcast, coast to coast, border to border on TuneIn, iTunes, Radio Loyalty, Stitcher, and the brand new Jiggy Jaguar app. I don't know why I call it the brand new. It's the Jiggy Jaguar app. Go to download it in both the app stores, iPod, Google Play, all that stuff. There are two apps. There is the one that I spent some money on, which is crap, and then there's the other one, which has got videos and all sorts of stuff. And I spent a lot of money on that. But we won't get into that here. I'm getting all these tweets from people who are watching us. Why are they... Okay, here's the question. You're watching us on Facebook Live, but you're tweeting me. What? What? Is what they say. I don't know. We are going to go back to the Skype audio. We've got Don Mazzella, and we are going to bring in our good friend, Mr. Josh Bernstein, here in just a few seconds. He is from the Josh Bernstein Show, and he is going to join us today to talk about all sorts of different things, healthcare, all sorts of stuff. And we are going to connect here with Josh on Skype audio. And hopefully, and Don has been exceptional, by the way. We've got Don Mazzella, and I think we've got Josh Bernstein with us today. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great. Great to be with you.
Now, Don was talking with us, the great Don Mazzella was talking with us before we went to our break here on iHeartRadio about the tax cuts and how he believes that invention is going to be one of the slight, I guess, nuances from the tax cuts. What do you think of is going to happen with the tax cuts and everything?
Well, I have a lot of different things that I think are going to come out of this. Number one, you have to understand that we got three amazing things done. Not only did we cut taxes, cut the corporate tax rate down to 21%, cut the repatriation rate for money coming back into the economy down to 15.5. We basically, for all intents and purposes, got rid of the estate tax by raising that threshold. We helped out seniors by lowering the threshold down to 7.5% for adjusted gross income that they can write off on their taxes. We got the individual tax cut. We got the individual mandate repealed, and we got ANWR as well. So I think that this was an overall a tremendous job by the president and by the House and Senate leadership. And again, you know me, I'm not a fan of the House and the Senate leadership at all. I think that they've been in the way of getting to President Trump's agenda through Congress. But I have to give them kudos on this one. I think they did a fantastic job. I think that we're going to be feeling the results very, very quickly. And this should be really, really good for the economy and, of course, for the country.
Now, Don, what do you make of Josh's analysis there?
Well, clearly I agree with him. But I'd like to point out that it takes about a year and a half to really understand how to govern. It took the Republicans a little longer once they gained control of the House and the Senate, and then, much to their surprise, they then got the presidency, and then it took them a year to get their act together. I happen to be a big fan of Speaker Ryan, having known him personally long before he became the Speaker of the House. So I can't agree with you on that. But it's taken them time to get their act together. As for the Democrats, you know, I sit here. My question to them is going to be, what are you going to run on in November? You know, it's going to be a very interesting point. But Josh, you're absolutely right. Everything you say, including some of the things that were given to the small businesses, make this a real win for the Republicans and President Trump.
Well, I definitely agree with Don on that. I think he's right on point as well. I really like the fact that they did this at the end of the year. They got it done during the first year, so they can say that they got this done during the first year. The only thing that I'm not really thrilled about is the fact that a lot of it is sunsetting. So in other words, in 2025, some of these tax cuts are going to be coming up for a vote to be considered whether or not they're going to be put back. We remember what happened with the George W. Bush tax cuts. I know for a fact that the child tax credit will be permanent, because I can assure you the Democrats are always going to want to keep it from going back down to 1,000. But I wish that there wasn't so many sunsets. There are some permanent things in there, of course, like the corporate tax rate, which is huge, and getting rid of the individual mandate. I would have liked to seen that be for 2018 rather than 2019. But I definitely think, we did a lot in this bill. If you think about it, we basically took out the funding mechanism for Obamacare by getting rid of the individual mandate. So that was a big, big plus. I mean, we failed on that 4 times in the year publicly so everybody could see what was going on. And we finally got that done. And really the only thing left as far as the big ticket items in the first year or so is building the wall. Now, I know that we have some prototypes that are up, and I know that they're talking about DACA again, which I'm not too thrilled about. But I'll tell you this, I'll do DACA if I know that it's going to get a fully constructed border wall that will also have the funds appropriated for it. That would be the only way that I would sign off on anything for DACA.
Well, I'd like to jump in, and something just came across my computer. People suddenly woke up to the fact that by repealing the mandate, the ACA mandate, the health insurance marketplace is in chaos, and now we're already starting to see demands that Congress somehow or other fix the problem. Well, if the Congress was smart, they'd let the marketplace fix the problem by pushing most of the insurance companies over the cliff and stop funding this runaway healthcare expenses. It's interesting. If you recall, President Obama promised that the cost of healthcare would go down. Well, it hasn't gone down. It's still increasing, and it still represents more than a sixth of our GNP. And it's gotten to the point where who can afford an insurance policy unless it's subsidized? So, Josh, you want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, my comment is that the way that the Unaffordable Care Less Act, as I like to call it, was put forward was to be a one-payer system over time through attrition. They knew that they couldn't just go out there and say, hey, we want a one-payer, single-payer system, because politically it was never going to work. So what did they do? They purposely made the fine for having insurance, or not, I'm sorry, not having insurance, to be half of what it cost a business to insure someone, which is typically about $4,000 a year to provide a business and an employee with full benefits and insurance. They made the fine exactly half of that, about $2,000. So the business minds and the business people had to make a decision to say, okay, I can either offer this person X amount of dollars more an hour, I can give him a gold watch at retirement, I can give him bonus time and extra time. I'm going to drop health insurance, you go on the health care plan for, you know, the state or whatever it is, instead of me carrying the insurance, because they made it advantageous for the small business to actually drop the insurance. And that's the devious part of it, because that's how it was set up. But now, if you remove the funding mechanism, which again is the individual mandate, it's almost like an octopus. The individual mandate was the brain or the heart of the octopus, and all the other tentacles were the provisions and the riders and the medical excise taxes and the independent panel advisory board and all the different things that were encompassing Obamacare. Well, now you've ripped out the funding mechanism. So in time, theoretically, the rest of that stuff should kind of go away by the wayside. But I do agree with you, they do need to do a fix. And again, I think the fix should come from the private sector. I think we should cover pre-existing conditions. We certainly want to be humane in America. I would open it up over state lines. When you open it up over state lines, you increase competition. When you increase competition, you obviously lower costs. I'd like to see them reform medical malpractice reform so that if you sue a doctor, you better be able to prove it. Otherwise, that doctor should be able to come after you. That way, they'll be able to carry less of a burden when it comes to the insurance. I mean, it costs so much money. It's $250,000 to $300,000 a year for a doctor to have insurance, medical malpractice insurance. And then, of course, health savings account is a big deal. We need to open that up as well. And I think that there are certain ways that we can do this and where we don't have to have the government involved in the process. I'm the national spokesman for AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, and we are a health advocacy group for seniors, the conservative alternative to AARP. We've got a plan. It's called AMAC's Best Plan. It's bipartisan, easy, simple, and timely. It's only 15 pages long. You actually get to really keep your doctor, so that's a bonus of it. And, it's only 15 pages long instead of thousands and thousands like Obamacare is. So I agree with you, Don. I think that we've got to do a fix, but that fix has got to come from the private sector, and it's got to come from the healthcare professionals, what they think would be best to serve the clients and the patients.
You're absolutely right, but the medical profession, as someone told me recently, a medical professional spends 40% of his or her time filling out forms.
Exactly.
I watch my doctor when I go. I'm on Medicare, so and as he says, every time he sees me, he's losing money. But he does it anyway because he's that kind of a doctor. And some of the things he does, he can never get reimbursed for. But how many doctors are left in that category? They all seem to be working on a schedule, on a road thing. And in the end, I don't think, while we get good care, I think we could get better care if if we didn't have so much paperwork. I'm so much against it. It's not even funny, but it's unfortunate we've come into this. I remember in 1963 when my mother went on Medicare, the first Medicare. It's 63, 64, 65 in that area. She had a little card. She went and there was a one form. She went to the doctor, she went to the hospital, etc. Now when you go to the hospital, it's a 16-page document at the end that documents everything, including your aspirin, and you sit there and wonder, do you really need all of that? But then again, you see Senator Menendez here in New Jersey, he had a friend that built Medicare out of $60 million, and he did favors for him, and he said he was just being friendly.
Yeah, exactly. I know New Jersey very well. I was born and raised in Springfield, so 142A off the GSP there, Don. Know the area very well.
We've got Don Mazzella with us today. We also have Josh Bernstein from the Josh Bernstein Show. We are testing out some new gear, trying to be able to get our Facebook Live and everything from the studio set up, so we can do that a little bit more. And thanks for joining us today here on iHeartRadio and AMFM247.com. Josh Bernstein from the Josh Bernstein Show, Don Mazzella from SB Digest with us. Josh, one thing that Don was getting to before we got you on the phone here on Skype is Al Franken. Why the hell is he resigned, but he's still hanging around?
Well, I think he mentioned January 2nd or something that he's actually going to be his last day. Look, I just interviewed Melanie Morgan. She was fantastic. She told me the horrific story of how she was stalked by this man, how he called her house incessantly. I'm so glad that he's gone. As I've said before on your program and others, he never even should have been a sitting senator, because I believe he has stolen that seat from Norm Coleman. If you remember all the indiscrepancies in that race, they found ballots in backs of trunks. They found ballots in dumpsters in St. Paul. So again, I don't understand how Norm Coleman could have been up 1,000 votes the night of the election and the next day, and then a couple of days later he's only up 200, and then when it's all said and done, he loses by 322 votes. So there was 1,099 felons they found from the Minnesota majority. They found out that they actually, voted in the election. So again, for me, it's always been a sticking point. I always thought that Norm Coleman was the one that should have had that seat to begin with. But look, Al Franken has been there for a while, and these people, when they're in these positions of power, they do these horrific things. They think they can get away with it. And as I said, on a couple of shows earlier today even, President Trump's having a hard time draining the swamp, because there's swamp creatures in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party and the intelligence community and all over Washington. But the unlikely and unsung heroes have been the women, because the women are starting to drain the swamp, because they are coming forward with some of these allegations. John Conyers, Trent Franks, Farron Told, Al Franken, and there's supposed to be a bunch of others. As a matter of fact, one of the journalists for the Daily Caller has said that the dam is about to break on the Congressional Hush Fund that's coming down the pike. There's investigations into that as well. So I think in some respects, not every single person is guilty, of course, of these accusations, but in some respects it's draining the swamp. It's getting rid of these long-term politicians in Washington.
You're so right. And the Democrats are thinking that they can run on that in November, and I think that's going to come back to haunt them. But can I offer a personal experience? Here in the New York area, they're running as part of the Pledge Week on our public radio, public television. They're running a special on Bob Hope, As I'm sure you remember, he used to, during World War II, and then again in Korea and in Vietnam, he always went overseas to entertain the troops. And I had the good fortune, when working as a copy boy at NBC, to do one of his Christmas tours. And the thing about it was that um, there was no hanky panky. It was interesting. The special admitted to the fact that Bob was a hound dog, but he always kept it pretty respectable. But on the tour, when you could have so much going on, leastwise the tour I was on, and I'm told by the people who normally did it for NBC, there was never any hanky-panky like that was demonstrated by Franken with that ridiculous photo of him with his hands. So I'd like to point out that we have degenerated a little bit in our morals, and maybe it's time we went back.
Well, I think a lot more than a little, unfortunately.
Well, I don't like to use hyperbole when a soft word will do, but you're right. Right. I mean, I sit on a medical marijuana board here in New Jersey, and if my mother was alive today, I think she would be killing me. But medical marijuana, I believe in. Yet we here in New Jersey are about to get recreational marijuana. But the interesting thing is, in today's paper, the taxes that are expected to be generated from that is $1 billion in the next 4 years from medical marijuana. The taxes. We're not talking about the sales. We're talking about the taxes that will generate to the state. But the point I always ask, that's literally money that's going up in smoke, and it's got to come out from someplace.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially New Jersey. I mean, they need all the help they can get. I mean, you got the highest property taxes pretty much on the East Coast. I mean, my brother has a house out in Warren Township, and I think he pays $14,000 a year in property taxes. So. Look, I think, they're going to get revenue and resources from other areas. I've never been a big proponent of the medical marijuana. Look, if someone, God forbid, is suffering from a debilitating disease and or cancer or something like that, then yes, they should be able to use any means that they can to alleviate their suffering. But what I worry about is the fact that, children are getting a hold of it, and teenagers, and everyone's getting a card, and they're running around, and they're high, and they're on the roads, and they're operating equipment and all that. So I don't see the benefit of it being a societal norm, so to speak. I definitely see it from a medicinal standpoint, Marinol and what have you, and things like that. I think it should be legal, but it should be a situation where you need a doctor's note or an oncologist's note or something to that effect to get it. I don't think that it should be widespread and easy to access, certainly.
Well, you're absolutely right. Here in New Jersey, you must have a doctor's prescription, and it should remain that way for a while till they get all the kinks worked out of it. I had you brought up I know what it was. Property tax. This new bill is also going to have an interesting effect on states with high tax rates. California, there's a very fascinating article in today's Wall Street Journal that any state where the income tax is above 6.5 is going to be a net loser based on the fact that you will only have a limited amount that you can write off under the new bill.
Right, 10,000 maximum for property, sales, and income.
That to me, that's an interesting point, because I think states like New York, New Jersey, we have a new governor coming in whose first idea is that he's going to tax the rich.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And look, maybe it'll create a realm of restraint, not just on government, but on the people of New Jersey. Maybe they'll realize, hey, you know what? We can't write off as much as we did, so maybe they'll have to save more of their money. Maybe they'll have to invest more of their money. Maybe they'll have to put money away to pay their taxes.